Hi, my name is Emily. I'm 26 years old. I work as a financial analyst and live with my parents and younger sister Brittany, who is 23. To be honest, things aren't so smooth at home. My parents depend on me because I pay for almost all the expenses, but they don't talk about it. They just assume I should take care of everything. I didn't mind helping because I knew they were in debt. My dad lost his job last year, and Mom's salary from her part-time job was barely enough. So I took care of everything: utilities, mortgage, even groceries. But my sister Brittany is the complete opposite. She hardly works, spending all her time on social media, shopping, or meeting friends. One Friday, during my lunch break, I logged into my banking app and saw something strange. There were charges on my credit card that I knew nothing about. $1,000 for tickets to Hawaii, travel and hotel, hundreds of dollars for restaurants and spa. My heart sank. I never spent money on such vacations. My dream was to save up for my own consulting business. I was saving on everything to make it happen. And now someone just blew my money on a luxury vacation. I took a deep breath and thought about who could have done this. My boyfriend Jake came to mind first. He had access to my card for emergencies, but he was responsible, or so I thought. Then it hit me. Of course, it was Brittany. She was always taking things without asking, but this wasn't borrowing, it was real theft. I immediately texted her. "Brittany, did you use my credit card to fly to Hawaii?" She calmly replied, "Oh, relax, Emily. It's not such a big deal. Jake and I just needed a little break." I lost my breath. She had stolen not only my money, but also my boyfriend. That same evening, I talked to my parents. I thought they would be on my side and angry at Brittany for her betrayal. But when I told them everything, they just shrugged. "Brittany is still young," Mom said. "Let her enjoy life. Don't be so strict with her." I couldn't believe my ears. She stole $1,000 from me. She's with my boyfriend. And this is all just enjoying life? "You shouldn't have given Jake access to your card," Dad said. "You're responsible for your own finances." I looked at them in complete shock. Not only had Brittany betrayed me, but my parents had chosen her over me again, as always. Lying in bed that night, I realized one thing. I would no longer be this family's personal bank. If they want to protect Brittany, fine. But now they'll have to learn what it's like to live without my help. The next morning, I woke up with a clear plan. I was tired of being taken for granted, and I wasn't going to let Brittany and Jake just get away with it. First, I logged into my banking app and blocked my credit card. All the remaining money they thought they had access to vanished instantly. Then I called the bank. "I'd like to report unauthorized charges on my credit card," I calmly told the operator. "I think the card was stolen." After a few minutes, all transactions were frozen, and the card was officially deactivated. I could only imagine Brittany's face when she discovers she can no longer pay for anything during her little vacation. But this was just the first step. I stopped all house payments, no more mortgage payments, no more utilities, no more groceries. If my parents want to protect Brittany so much, let them find the money themselves now. As soon as I made the call, my phone rang. It was Brittany. I ignored it. A second later, another call. Now Jake. I ignored him too. They could suffer in silence. I didn't care. By noon, chaos broke out. "Emily!" Mom shouted from the living room. "The electricity just went out! What's happening?" I calmly came downstairs. "I stopped paying the bills," I said. "Since you support Brittany's theft so much, it means you don't need my help anymore." Dad stood up, his face red. "What do you mean you stopped paying? How are we going to pay for everything now? The mortgage is due next week." I crossed my arms and leaned against the doorframe. "Well, you chose Brittany's side. Maybe she can help you now." At that moment, the door burst open. Brittany stood there dragging her suitcase. Tanned skin, beach wave hair. It was the last thing I wanted to see. She dropped the suitcase and came up to me, stomping her feet. "Are you crazy, Emily? You blocked the card right in the middle of my trip. I had to borrow money from strangers to get back home." I smirked. "Well, now you know what it's like to be left without help." Brittany's face twisted with anger. "You're so dramatic. Jake and I just wanted to have some fun." I raised an eyebrow. "At my expense? And with my boyfriend?" She opened her mouth to object, but at that moment my phone vibrated. Jake again. I picked up the phone, showing her the screen. "Look, your accomplice is calling. Should I answer?" Brittany snatched the phone from my hand and threw it on the couch. "Just forget it. It's over. You've already got your revenge. Now fix everything with Mom and Dad." I snorted. "Fix it? No, Brittany, you'll have to fix this. Start by explaining to Mom and Dad why they might lose this house if they don't start paying the bills themselves." Mom clutched her head. "Emily, please, we can't afford all these expenses." "Maybe you should have thought about that before defending Brittany," I said. "I paid for everything, and you treated me like a walking ATM. I've had enough." I started packing my things, deciding it was time to leave this house and my toxic family. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Dad came in. He looked tired and dejected. "Emily," he said quietly, "I'm sorry. We shouldn't have taken you for granted." I paused. I wasn't ready to forgive yet. "You didn't just take me for granted, Dad. You betrayed me." I looked at him coldly. "Brittany and Jake betrayed me, and you all made me feel like I didn't matter." Dad sighed. "I know, but without your help, we might lose the house." I shook my head. "That's not my problem anymore." I looked him straight in the eye. "I've sacrificed my dreams for this family for too long." I picked up my suitcase and headed for the exit. Mom and Brittany would have to figure it out themselves. As I went down the stairs, I noticed Brittany sitting on the couch, arms crossed. She stared at me intently. "Where are you going?" she asked sharply. I stopped. "To live my life without you." I turned to the door but decided to deliver one last blow before leaving. "Oh, and just so you know, Jake's been trying to contact me." I tilted my head, watching her face pale. "Looks like your vacation fling wasn't so solid after all." I smirked. "Good luck." And I left. I drove for hours, not knowing where I was going. I just needed to get away from all this chaos. Eventually, I stopped at a cozy motel on the outskirts of a small town in Phoenix. It wasn't fancy, but I didn't need fancy anymore. This was exactly what I needed: quiet and time to think about my next steps. Sitting on the bed, I stared at my phone. Jake had sent several messages trying to explain himself. "Emily, I know Brittany did wrong. I wasn't part of her plan. Emily, can we meet and talk? I miss you, Emily. Please don't shut me out, Emily." I rolled my eyes and blocked his number. There was nothing left to talk about. He chose betrayal, and now he had to deal with the consequences himself. The next morning, I woke up with a clear goal. I wouldn't let the past hold me back in a dead end. For years, I had dreamed of opening my own consulting business, and now I finally had the money to do it. Savings I had rescued from Brittany and were now mine alone. I drove to the nearest city and rented a small apartment. It wasn't luxurious, but it was mine. For the first time in many years, I felt free. No parents demanding my money, no thieving sister, no boyfriend betraying my trust. I made a list of tasks to launch my business: find a large office space, register the company name, create a website, find first clients. Just writing this down, I felt inspired. For years, I had managed my family's finances, and now I was finally going to manage something of my own. A week passed. I was starting to get used to my new life when suddenly there was a knock at the door. I wasn't expecting anyone and hesitated for a second whether to open, but I turned the handle anyway. Brittany stood on the threshold. She looked awkward and embarrassed, unlike her usual self. "What do you want?" I asked, keeping my voice cold. She lowered her gaze, avoiding my eyes. "I know I'm the last person you want to see, but I need to talk to you." I crossed my arms. "Talk fast." Brittany came in. All traces of her former confidence and spoiled tone were gone. "Mom and Dad are in serious trouble," she said quietly. "They haven't been paying the mortgage. The bank is threatening to take the house. We don't know what to do." I felt a pang of guilt, but pushed it away immediately. "That's not my problem anymore, Brittany. You all made it clear that my help wasn't needed." "I know," she whispered. "I messed up. I betrayed you, and I'm sorry. I thought Jake really cared about me, but he disappeared as soon as we got back. I ruined everything, and now I don't know how to fix it." For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered how my savings disappeared, how she betrayed me, how she and Jake laughed behind my back while using my money. I looked at her. "You can't just apologize and hope everything will be okay again." I sighed and shook my head. "Actions have consequences, Brittany." "Brittany," I said firmly, "I spent years helping you and the family, and you just took advantage of me. Now you'll have to deal with this mess yourself." Brittany's eyes filled with tears. "Please, Emily, if you don't help, we'll lose the house. Mom and Dad are desperate." I sighed, leaning against the kitchen counter. I wasn't heartless, but I wasn't going to just hand out money either. "I'll help, but on one condition." She immediately perked up, grasping at the chance. "I won't give you money directly. I'll cover a few mortgage payments, but only if you sign a contract that you'll pay me back the entire amount with interest." Brittany's face twisted in surprise. "What?" "Yes," I repeated firmly. "This isn't charity. You need to learn to be responsible for your actions. If you don't pay, I'll have the legal right to take the house. Do you understand?" She hesitated, but after a moment quietly nodded. "Okay." A week later, we signed the contract, and I transferred the money to stop the foreclosure. My parents and Brittany were relieved, but I knew this wasn't the end. They had a long road ahead, and I wasn't going to make it easy for them. Several months later, I received the news I had been waiting for. Brittany and my parents couldn't make the payments on time. They failed to meet the terms of the agreement, and according to the contract, I gained full control of the house. When I came to take possession of the property, Brittany begged me not to evict them, but this time I didn't feel guilty. They had made their choice, and I had made mine. After putting the house in my name, I decided to sell it. The profit gave me the financial boost I needed to expand my business. A year passed. I had clients, a growing team I was proud of. As for Brittany and my parents, they moved to a small apartment. We no longer talked, but I was okay with that. I had finally taken control of my life, and now nothing could stop me.